Tom was a simple farmer who lived outside a small quiet town. His days followed the same calm pattern. He woke up early, fed his animals, checked his fields, and rested when the sun went down. Life on the farm was peaceful, and Tom liked it that way. He did not enjoy surprises, and surprises rarely happened in his world. Tom had many animals, but his chickens were his favorite. They were calm, healthy, and well trained by routine. Every evening, just before the sky turned orange, the chickens walked into their wooden coop on their own. Tom never had to chase them or force them. It had been this way for years. That evening started like any other. The sun was low, the air was cool, and Tom finished stacking hay near the barn. He wiped his hands on his shirt and looked toward the open yard, expecting to see the chickens slowly moving toward the coop. But something felt wrong. The chickens were not moving. They stood near the fence in a tight group. Some flapped their wings. Others made sharp sounds that Tom had rarely heard before. When one chicken stepped forward, it suddenly jumped back as if scared. The whole group followed, pulling away from the coop. Tom frowned. He had never seen them act like this. He walked closer and gently waved his hand, a signal they knew well. Usually, that was enough. This time, nothing changed. The chickens only moved farther away. Their eyes stayed fixed on the dark opening of the coop. Tom felt uneasy. Animals could sense things humans could not. He had learned that lesson many times on the farm. When animals acted strange, there was always a reason. He stopped walking and stood still. The wind was quiet. The farm was silent except for the nervous sounds of the chickens. Tom looked carefully at the coop. From a distance, it looked normal, but something pulled at his attention. The coop door was open. Tom was sure he had closed it that morning. He never left it open because wild animals sometimes came near at night. A cold feeling passed through him. He tried to think of a simple reason. Maybe the wind pushed it open. Maybe he forgot. Still, his heart felt heavy. He took slow steps forward. The chickens reacted instantly. They scattered, running toward the far side of the yard. One even flew over a short fence, something it rarely did. That reaction confirmed Tom's worry. He stopped again. Tom had lived on the farm long enough to trust signs. This was not normal behavior. He decided not to force the animals. Instead, he turned his focus fully to the coop. The wooden structure stood quietly. No sound came from inside. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the ground. Darkness was coming soon. Tom picked up a flashlight from the barn wall. He held it tightly, though he did not fully understand why he felt nervous. He told himself it was probably nothing. Still, his steps were careful as he walked toward the coop. When he reached the door, he noticed scratch marks near the entrance. They were fresh. The smell inside was strange, not like animals or hay. It was sharp and unfamiliar. Tom paused. He had a strong urge to step back, but curiosity and responsibility pushed him forward. This was his farm. If something was wrong, he needed to know. He turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, lighting up the wooden walls and the floor covered with straw. At first glance, everything seemed normal. The nesting boxes were empty. The feeders were untouched. Then he noticed the floor. The straw had been moved aside in one corner. The dirt beneath looked disturbed, as if something heavy had been placed there recently. That alone was enough to raise alarm. Tom took one step inside. The air felt colder. His chest tightened. He slowly moved the flashlight toward the corner. As the light settled, his breath caught. There was an object there. It was not part of the coop. It was not farming equipment. It was a large container, dark in color, with markings that Tom did not recognize. Thin wires ran along its side, disappearing beneath the straw. Tom froze. His mind raced. He had seen warning signs like this on television, never in real life. He did not know exactly what it was, but he knew one thing clearly. It did not belong on his farm. He backed away slowly, careful not to touch anything. His hands shook as he turned off the flashlight and stepped outside. The sky was now deep orange, fading fast. Tom closed the coop door gently and stood there, breathing heavily. The chickens watched him from a distance, still refusing to come near. In that moment, Tom understood why they had stayed away. This was no small problem. And this was only the beginning. Tom did not sleep that night. He sat on a wooden chair near the kitchen window, watching the yard. The moonlight fell softly over the farm, but the peace he usually felt was gone. Every small sound made him alert. The chickens were quiet, resting in a temporary pen far from the coop. Even they seemed uneasy, as if they knew something bad was nearby. Tom kept thinking about the object inside the coop. His mind tried to explain it in simple ways, but none of them made sense. It was not a tool. It was not a storage box. It had wires and strange marks. Tom was a farmer, not an expert, but he knew enough to understand that it could be dangerous. As the night passed, memories came back to him. He remembered news stories about remote places being used to hide risky things. He remembered people saying that quiet farms were often chosen because no one noticed what happened there. These thoughts made his chest feel tight. When morning came, the sun rose slowly, painting the fields with light. Normally, this was Tom's favorite time of day. Today, it brought no comfort. He stood up, stretched his tired back, and walked outside. The air felt fresh, but the farm did not feel the same. Tom checked on the chickens first. He fed them and watched closely. They ate, but they stayed alert. Their eyes often turned toward the coop, even though it was far away. Tom took this as another sign that he should be careful. He made a decision. Tom would not enter the coop again by himself. Instead, he walked back into the house and picked up his phone. He searched for the local farm office number. Before calling, he stopped. He wondered if he was overreacting. Maybe it was just old equipment left by someone else. Maybe calling for help would bring trouble he did not need. Tom put the phone down. He decided to take another look from outside. He walked slowly toward the coop, stopping several steps away. He did not open the door. He only listened. There was no sound. Still, the strange smell from the night before lingered in the air. Tom felt his decision return stronger than before. He turned around and went back to the house. This time, he called. He spoke calmly, explaining that he had found an unknown object in his chicken coop. The voice on the other end asked him not to touch anything and to stay away from the area. Tom agreed. After the call, he waited. Waiting was hard. Time moved slowly. Tom tried to distract himself by cleaning tools and checking fences, but his thoughts always returned to the coop. He kept his distance, following the advice he had been given. A few hours later, a vehicle arrived at the edge of his property. Two officials stepped out. They wore simple uniforms and carried small notebooks. Tom walked toward them, feeling both relieved and nervous. He explained everything again, starting from the strange behavior of the chickens to what he saw inside the coop. The officials listened carefully. They asked questions and took notes. They did not look relaxed, and that worried Tom. One of them asked Tom to show them the coop but to stay back. They approached slowly. One official opened the door just enough to look inside. He did not step in. After a few seconds, he closed it again. They exchanged looks. The older official told Tom that he had done the right thing by calling. He said the situation needed more attention. He asked Tom to move all animals farther away and to stay inside his house until more help arrived. Tom nodded. As the officials returned to their vehicle, Tom felt a strange mix of fear and pride. Fear because something serious was happening on his land. Pride because he had trusted his instincts and protected his animals. More vehicles arrived later. The quiet farm became busy. People spoke in low voices. Some placed signs near the road. Tom stayed inside, watching through the window. His phone rang. It was his neighbor, Sam. Sam had seen the activity and wanted to know what was going on. Tom kept his answer simple. He said there was a problem in the coop and that help had arrived. Sam offered support and told Tom to call if he needed anything. That kindness eased Tom's worry a little. As the day continued, the officials worked carefully. They did not rush. Everything they did seemed planned and controlled. Tom noticed how serious they were. That confirmed what he already knew. This was not a small mistake or a misunderstanding. Late in the afternoon, one official came to speak with Tom. He explained that the object was being handled safely and that Tom and his animals were no longer in danger. He did not give many details, but his tone was respectful. Tom thanked him. When the vehicles finally left, the farm felt empty again. The sun was setting, and the sky glowed softly. Tom walked outside and took a deep breath. The coop was still closed. It would stay that way for now. Tom looked at his chickens. They were calmer, pecking at the ground, acting more like themselves. Seeing that brought him comfort. That night, Tom sat on his porch, thinking about how close he had come to ignoring the signs. If he had forced the chickens inside, things could have gone very wrong. He realized something important. The farm had spoken to him through the animals. And he had listened. But he also knew the story was not over yet. What had been found in the coop raised many questions. How did it get there? Who put it there? And why his farm? Those answers would come soon. The next morning, Tom woke up earlier than usual. The farm was quiet, but his mind was busy. He made a cup of tea and sat at the table, thinking about everything that had happened. The officials had said the area was safe, but they also said they would return. That thought stayed with him. When Tom stepped outside, the farm looked the same as always. The fields were green. The air was cool. Birds flew over the trees. Still, something felt different. The place no longer felt fully his. A small part of it now carried a secret. Tom fed the chickens and watched them closely. They moved calmly, but they stayed far from the coop. Tom did not try to change that. He had decided the coop would remain closed until he was told otherwise. Later that morning, a car drove up the dirt road again. This time, more people stepped out. They wore clean jackets and carried folders. One of them greeted Tom by name. That surprised him. They asked if they could speak inside the house. Tom agreed. They sat around the kitchen table. One person explained that they were continuing to look into how the object ended up on the farm. They assured Tom that he was not in trouble. They said he had helped by reporting it quickly. Tom listened carefully. They asked questions about his daily routine. They asked if he had seen anyone strange near the farm. Tom answered honestly. He lived a quiet life. He rarely had visitors. He had not noticed anything unusual before the chickens acted strange. One person wrote notes while another listened closely. Their faces were serious but calm. That helped Tom relax a little. After the questions, they explained a few things. They said that remote farms were sometimes used without the owner knowing. They said Tom's land was likely chosen because it was quiet and far from town. Hearing this made Tom feel uneasy, but it also made sense. Before leaving, they asked Tom to contact them if he noticed anything else. They gave him a number and thanked him again. When they left, Tom stood by the door for a long moment. He felt tired, even though the day had just started. He decided to keep himself busy. He spent the afternoon repairing a fence near the field. The physical work helped clear his mind. Still, every now and then, his eyes moved toward the closed coop. It stood there silently, like it was holding a story inside. As the sun moved across the sky, Tom noticed a car parked near the road. It did not move for a long time. Tom watched from a distance. After a while, the car drove away. It might have been nothing, but Tom made a note of it in his mind. That evening, his neighbor Sam came by. Sam brought fresh bread and asked how Tom was doing. They sat on the porch and talked as the sky darkened. Tom shared what he could. Sam listened with wide eyes. Sam said he admired Tom for staying calm. He said many people would have ignored the signs. Tom smiled lightly and said the chickens deserved the credit. They laughed quietly. After Sam left, Tom felt less alone. The support mattered more than he realized. That night, Tom slept better than before. Still, his dreams were full of strange images. He saw the coop, the chickens, and shadows moving across the fields. When he woke up, the sun was already rising. A few days passed. Life slowly returned to normal. The chickens acted calm again. Tom worked his land. The officials did not return, but Tom knew they were still looking into the matter. One afternoon, Tom found something near the back fence. It was a small piece of cloth caught on the wire. It looked torn and dirty. Tom had never seen it before. His heart beat faster. He did not touch it with his bare hands. He used a tool to pick it up and placed it in a bag. Then he called the number he had been given. They told him he had done the right thing and that someone would come to collect it. This moment reminded Tom that the situation was still active. Someone had been near his land. That thought made him uneasy. Later that evening, a vehicle arrived and took the item. The person thanked Tom and reminded him to stay alert. As the sun set, Tom walked the edge of his property. He looked at the trees, the fence, the open land beyond. He realized how open his farm really was. Peaceful, but open. That night, Tom sat at his table and wrote down everything he remembered from the past weeks. Times, sounds, small details. It helped him feel in control. He realized something important. The story was no longer just about the chickens or the coop. It was about paying attention. It was about listening when something felt wrong. It was about understanding that even quiet places could be touched by things from the outside world. Tom did not know what the final outcome would be. He did not know if the people responsible would ever be found. But he knew one thing. He would never ignore signs again. The farm had changed him. And whatever came next, Tom was ready to face it. The days after the cloth was taken away felt slower for Tom. Each morning, he woke up with the same thought in his mind. Was everything truly over, or was something still waiting to be discovered? He did not panic, but he stayed careful. His routine stayed the same, yet his awareness was sharper. Tom walked his land more often now. He checked the fences, the trees, and the paths leading toward the road. He noticed small details he had ignored before, like broken branches and tire marks near the edge of the field. None of them proved anything, but together they told him one thing. Someone had been near his farm more than once. The chickens stayed calm, but they still avoided the coop. Tom had cleaned the temporary pen and made it more comfortable for them. He spoke to them softly while feeding them, as if they could understand his thoughts. In a way, he felt they were partners in this strange situation. One afternoon, clouds gathered in the sky. A light wind moved through the fields. Tom was fixing a loose board on the barn when he heard a sound from the road. A vehicle slowed down, then stopped. Tom stood still. He watched carefully as a man stepped out. The man looked around, then walked a few steps toward the fence. He did not call out. He did not wave. He simply stood there, as if waiting. Tom felt his heart beat faster, but he did not rush. He wiped his hands and walked toward the fence, keeping a safe distance. The man spoke first. He asked if this was Tom's farm. His voice was calm, but his eyes moved around often. Tom answered yes. The man said he was looking for a place he had visited before. He said he might have taken a wrong turn. His explanation felt weak. Tom listened without interrupting. Tom told him politely that this was private land and that there was nothing here for visitors. He suggested the man return to the main road. For a moment, the man said nothing. Then he nodded, returned to his vehicle, and drove away. Tom stood there long after the vehicle disappeared. Something about the meeting stayed with him. The man did not seem lost. He seemed curious. Tom went back to the house and wrote down the time, the vehicle color, and what he remembered about the man. Then he made a call. He shared the details with the officials. They thanked him and told him he had done the right thing again. They said they would look into it. That evening, Tom did not sit on the porch. He stayed inside, watching through the window. The sky darkened, and the farm lights came on. Everything remained quiet. Later that night, Tom heard a sound near the coop. It was faint, like a step on dry ground. Tom did not go outside. He remembered the advice he had been given. Instead, he turned on the outdoor lights. The yard filled with light, and the sound stopped. He waited. Nothing else happened. The next morning, officials arrived again. This time, they inspected the area near the coop and the fence. They found fresh marks on the ground. Their faces grew serious. They spoke with Tom for a long time. They explained that someone might be checking to see if the object was still there. They assured Tom that they were increasing watch in the area. Tom felt a mix of fear and relief. Fear because someone had returned. Relief because he was not alone in handling it. The officials suggested Tom stay with his neighbor for a few nights if he felt uncomfortable. Tom thanked them but chose to stay. This farm was his home. Leaving it felt wrong. That decision surprised even him. Over the next few days, patrol vehicles passed the road more often. The presence brought comfort. The farm slowly felt safer again. Sam visited often, bringing food and company. They talked about simple things. Crops. Weather. Old memories. These moments helped Tom stay grounded. One evening, as the sun set, Tom opened the old coop door for the first time since everything began. Officials stood nearby, watching closely. The coop was empty now. Clean. Quiet. Tom stepped inside and looked around. It felt like a weight lifted from his chest. The coop no longer held fear. As Tom stepped back out, he looked at his land and felt something change inside him. He was no longer just a quiet farmer. He was someone who had faced the unexpected and stood firm. The farm had tested him. And he had not turned away. Whatever came next, Tom knew he would meet it with open eyes and steady hands. The morning sun rose gently over the farm, and for the first time in many days, Tom felt calm. The air felt lighter. The land looked the same as always, yet something inside him had changed. He stood near the field, watching the light move across the grass, and took a deep breath. Life slowly returned to a steady rhythm. The chickens were the first sign. A few days after the coop was cleared and checked one final time, Tom noticed them moving closer to it. At first, they stayed near the door, watching carefully. Tom did not rush them. He let them decide in their own time. One evening, just as the sun began to lower, a single chicken stepped inside. Then another followed. Soon, the rest walked in calmly, just like before. Tom watched quietly from a distance. A soft smile appeared on his face. The warning had passed. That night, Tom slept deeply. There were no strange dreams. No sudden sounds. Only the familiar quiet of the farm. Over the next weeks, officials returned one last time. They told Tom that the situation had been fully handled. The people responsible were no longer a concern. They thanked him again for his awareness and cooperation. Before leaving, one of them said something Tom would never forget. He said that small actions often prevent big trouble. Those words stayed with Tom. As time went on, neighbors stopped by more often. Word had spread about what had happened. People listened with interest and respect when Tom spoke. He never exaggerated the story. He simply shared what he saw and what he learned. Sam told him that the whole area felt safer because of him. Tom shook his head and said it was the chickens who deserved praise. Still, he felt proud. The farm became more alive than before. Tom repaired old structures he had ignored for years. He strengthened fences. He added better lights near the yard. These were not acts of fear. They were acts of care. Each morning, Tom walked the land with new eyes. He noticed how the ground felt under his boots. He noticed how the wind moved through the trees. He listened more closely. Not because he expected trouble, but because he had learned the value of attention. One afternoon, a school teacher from town visited with a small group of students. She asked if Tom would talk about farm life and responsibility. Tom agreed. He showed them the chickens, the fields, and the coop. He spoke in simple words about caring for animals and respecting nature. He did not focus on fear. He focused on listening and awareness. The children asked many questions. One asked how he knew something was wrong that day. Tom thought for a moment. He said that when something familiar changes, it is important to stop and think. He said that animals, land, and people all give signs. You just have to notice them. The children listened closely. After they left, Tom sat alone near the coop. The wood was warm from the sun. The place that once filled him with worry now felt peaceful again. That evening, Tom cooked a simple meal and ate it on the porch. The sky turned gold, then soft blue. The chickens settled in quietly. Everything was as it should be. Tom reflected on the past weeks. He realized that the story was never about fear or danger alone. It was about trust. Trust in instincts. Trust in responsibility. Trust in doing the right thing even when it feels easier to ignore it. Tom knew his life would continue quietly. He would wake early. He would work the land. He would care for his animals. That would never change. But inside, he carried something new. Confidence. Not loud confidence. Not pride. Just a steady belief that he could face the unexpected and make the right choice. As darkness settled over the farm, Tom stood and looked across his land one last time before heading inside. The fields were calm. The coop was silent. The world felt balanced again. Sometimes, the smallest voices give the biggest warnings. And sometimes, listening is what truly keeps everyone safe. The farm rested peacefully. So did Tom.